It's not in the cards for you. I'm pretty good at insults, and I got the internet and a lot of free time.
You have to consider the fact that Generation X sperm is more electrical. It's reached a certain level of aging. Um, think about it like this way: you could have a blanket, which would be age proximate sperm or sperm that's under the age of 35, or you could have an electric blanket. You can have a blanket, or you could have an electric blanket. But there's all these studies and reports of 20-year age gap relationships where the woman is 20 years younger, of feelings of well-being and chemical equilibrium. That's because there's more telomerase, the enzyme at the ends of DNA within sperm that's 35 to 55 years old, and that holds the DNA together better, which makes it more tactile. It's like scaffolding on a building. You build Noah's Ark or whatever, and you have more sap to cover the whole building. If he had more sap and he just covered the fucking ship, the ark, with more sap, it would have held together better. Apparently, he had enough sap on his ship. But it would be like if you built a building and you covered it in more mortar. You know what I mean? More brick, more mortar within the brick, or a stronger glue within paper. You used a little more glue to tape two pieces of paper together, which held it together more. So it's got a little bit more glue. It's not excessive, because if it was excessive, it would have reached what's known as the Hayflick limit. And we don't know what evolution's going to do for a while, because generationally, over and over, if your kids have a father who's 35 to 55, and it just goes on for generation and generation, it would improve the DNA by making that more glue. Okay, so what DNA does is it coils around with proteins that create chromosomes. And then there's this feeling of well-being when you're with an older guy. There's all these studies that men my age with women your age, so Generation Z, skip the millennials, and Generation X, are in a relationship together. I have more electrical semen. Because of that, you should consider dating only Generation X males. I'm 41. The high point of fecundity is 45. The high point of fecundity within eggs is 21. I'm already going to feel good dating you because I already do when I'm around women that age. 18 and 24 is my specific skill set. You ought to consider dating only Generation X males. It's going to give you feelings of well-being. There's no studies or reports whatsoever. I've never read an article, and I read this shit like there's no tomorrow, about age proximate love creating a feeling of well-being. So I say, this is my theory. My theory is that feeling of well-being must be an improved immune system. And the immune system is basically at the lowest level antibodies, molecules that fight pathogens by detecting them through a bond known as the London dispersion force, which is an electrical bond, kind of like the hydrogen bond or the covalent bond or the ionic bond. It's just another kind of electrical bond. And what it does is it causes the antibody and the pathogen to bend and kind of oblong from circular globular shape to more of a football shape. And that's how it detects each other, by bending through the London dispersion force, which is also known as the van der Waals force. And that feeling of well-being must mean that the high telomerase sperm cranks up the serotonin in the female, and also the antibodies would be slightly more electrical, which means they crank out more joules per second, or microjoules or nanojoules, however they do it. It would be some sort of joule rate per second. So there's probably more nanojoules because they measure the lengths of telomeres in nanometers. So there's more nanojoules within each antibody, which would create a more electrical, a higher wattage. Like your house runs on kilowatt hours. That's the electricity that goes in your house. It's no different within an antibody or even a cell. It cranks out electricity. It gets electricity through adenosine triphosphate. Your body gets electricity through the Krebs cycle, a 10-step process whereby certain molecules like glucose convert into other molecules and go around in a cycle, converting and reconverting into different things and different molecules. And it's a huge, complex cycle. In plants, it's known as a Calvin cycle. In animals, it's known as a Krebs cycle. And some of those molecules are like that long. They're pretty big. It's a complex cycle known as the Krebs cycle, and a lot of it has to do with adenosine triphosphate, the energy transfer molecule of the body, breaking down into adenosine diphosphate and monophosphate. So that energy eventually reaches antibodies through just transfers of electrons, and electricity is transferred through electrons, and that would mean that the high telomerase sperm within, at this stage, some millennials and Generation X males predominantly in 2021 would create a feeling of well-being, because there's lots and lots of studies of well-being of dating a man 20 years older than you. So you really ought to consider dating me simply because I'm someone who was born in 1979 and you're someone who was born around 2000 or 2002, which would create a feeling of goodness and betterment. You'd be more happy because of that chemical process that leads to antibodies. In my theory, I would theorize that the antibodies are cranking out more wattage, known as the London dispersion force or the van der Waals force, which lends to that feeling of well-being because of the high telomerase sperm, which keeps the sperm together better and makes DNA more tactile within sperm, which also gives your babies stronger DNA. What I'm saying here is there's absolutely no reason to date men under the age of 35, probably even 40 or even 45, but I'm 41. So there's no reason not to date Generation X males, especially if you're a Generation Z high telomerase egg female. So if you're 18 to 24 and a woman, you really ought to consider dating me because I'm 35 to 55 and was born in 1979. I theorize that the antibodies probably are cranking out more wattage or joules per second, which makes them more like an electrical blanket, leading to these studies and reports in medical journals across the globe of a feeling of well-being of dating men 20 years older than you. Booyakasha wagwan! Science. It's awesome. I know on my videos I come off as a little bit cringe or bitter. That's just when I'm doing my videos because I'm focused, you know what I mean? I'm talking about scientific stuff, so I'm trying to be literate and eloquent. And sometimes that might come off as grumpy. I'm not apologizing for that because that's just how I am. Most of the time I come off as sunny and upbeat. I'm one of these guys that says sir and ma'am a lot. I'm usually pretty outgoing when it comes to smiling and stuff like that. But it doesn't really matter to me because opposites attract. If I'm cringe and bitter, that's only because I'm focused on my science and trying to explain the science. I take microbiology classes at college. I'm right there now. I'm doing a little bit of work. So, I mean, to me it doesn't matter if I come off as acerbic and visceral. If you got to complain about it, that's why I have the comments turned off, because I'm not there to listen to you be bitter and cringe. You know what I mean? I'm not there to attract somebody that's like me. North and south magnets attract one another. North and north magnets don't attract one another. It's opposites, electrical pulses. I don't understand people sometimes. They'll complain and complain and complain instead of just being nice and sunny. You know what I mean? I'm not coming off as cringe and bitter anyway. I'm coming off as serious. And if you're the opposite of me, like bubbly and upbeat, you're probably more my type. And a lot of times I come off as stoical, but a lot of people regard me as sunny and polite. If that's a problem for you,
well, I'm an ambivert. It depends upon the situation. I can be introverted, I can be extroverted, I can be outward, I can be inward. It depends upon the people that I'm around. It depends upon the architecture. It depends upon the situation. I'm not just an introvert. That's why the Myers-Briggs test is wrong, because there's not just one type of person when it comes to like judgment or perception. Sometimes you're a little bit of both. And I think most people are on a gray scale anyway. My ideal person, like if I had a girlfriend, would probably be upbeat and jovial. But I'm also attracted to women that are more serious because, like I said, I'm an ambivert, and opposites attract. So for me, that would be could be anyone.
Okay, so here's an interesting thought. If you have a higher metabolic rate, your metabolism is quicker. That means you process things quicker. You process the molecules in your body quicker. Your kidneys metabolize things. Your heart metabolizes things. All the organs metabolize different things. If you have a higher metabolic rate, a higher metabolism, it leads to feelings of well-being. There's also feelings of well-being in studies of the age gap relationship, which is exactly why I study microbiology. So if you're Generation Z and Generation X being I, within that it would increase feelings of well-being because there's all those studies in like PLOS and PNAS, Royal Academy and New England Journal of Medicine, etc., 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 about feelings of well-being from being in an age gap relationship. So that would mean that the relationship itself increases the metabolic rate, giving you feelings of well-being. Potentially, as a conjectural analysis, your metabolic rate could increase through an age gap relationship, leading to those feelings of well-being. What would increase your metabolic rate would be things that are healthy. And things that are healthy would be drinking water, exercising more, eating more fruits and vegetables, running, things that you would normally associate, eating healthier foods that you would normally associate with health. Swimming, stuff like that, where you're getting more energy into your system. If you increase your metabolic rate, you feel better. You're more upbeat and happy, and you're more chill. You crank out more dopamine and serotonin, so you're happier and more relaxed when you have a higher metabolic rate. And the age gap relationship, especially the generation gap relationship of a 20-year age gap, has all these studies about well-being. And that's what I study in microbiology, is the high telomerase sperm and high telomerase egg, in order to create a high telomerase child, which seems to give you more energy as a participant in this sort of relationship, which is why there's the age gap seen on Lower Post Street in Spokane, and why that's becoming a thing. Those women and those guys are extremely happy when they're talking over a martini in those bars. I've looked, I've observed, or having a beer together, or having a wine together. They're more sophisticated bars than, say, Fast Eddie's, which is a more visceral environment, or the McCoys and stuff like that. A little more chill, a little more adult, a little more grown up. The daddy-daughter relationship within Spokane is becoming increasingly popular on Post Street, on all those establishments. Cochinito is a place where they meet a lot, and you look at their faces, the gray-haired guys with the women that look like they're about college age look a lot happier than the age gappers on Fast Eddie's, because it's a more chill environment, and the age proximus relationships walking around Spokane. So I study that on the microbiology level and also the socioeconomic level and the political level. I study those sorts of things. So something about that relationship increases your metabolism, and it could be the high telomerase sperm and the high telomerase egg, which gives your kids more tactile strands of DNA. So within the sacral chakra, or the area of the body just below the solar plexus, the solar plexus is the third chakra, but the chakra below that is the second chakra of the reproductive system, which is the center of creativity within the body and instinct. So by increasing metabolism, perhaps through longer telomeres, which would conduct more electrical wattage through joules per second in terms of nanojoules, and also the antibodies would have a stronger wattage in terms of the van der Waals force. Your reproductive cells and fluids are more metabolic
and process molecules quicker, which would give those feelings of well-being, which would make sense if you look at this all as a whole, and then you look at the silverback gorillas and how they seek out young, nubile adult females as well, and also all mammal groups and some bugs, because there's also studies on more doting fathers within insects and beetles and dogs and stuff like that. A more attentive father. We're more therapists-like as boyfriends and husbands when there's a 20-year age gap. We're more attentive as husbands and fathers, according to studies since 2013, more attentive as fathers. There's more of a feeling of well-being in those types of relationships. So you really ought to hit up Lower Post Street in order to find the age gap relationship and look at this on the microbiological level, because it's fascinating, and the body work for it on the studies, the nerd stuff, is really, really cool. Okay, so what I do at the college is I study microbiology currently. I'm trying to get a biology degree. I'm on the biology track to get my associate's degree because I want to get a PhD. It doesn't matter where I'm going to go to school next. Probably Gonzaga or WSU, depending upon my grades. I'll look at that when the bridge is there. What I'm saying is I study microbiology because eventually I want to study both eggs and sperm and zygotes. You look at aged sperm and the flagella, the tails on that sperm between 35 and 55, the high point being 45 of telomerase, have longer tails. So they swim faster and they swim more efficiently. The heads are bigger than the normative sperm, which would be below the age of 35 or above the age of 55. So these particular sperm, swim faster, more efficiently, and are stronger at the head, so they hit the egg harder and have a more penetrative power. It would be like they're a bigger airplane that flew faster. So you have like an airplane that might go 100 miles an hour or something, like a Learjet, like something that a celebrity might own, like John Travolta. Then you have a Boeing 747 that, of course, flies through the air a lot faster and can maneuver a hell of a lot better than a Learjet. A Learjet is just a private jet, but a Boeing 747 is a passenger jet, which is both faster by a couple hundred miles and also can move through the air and through turbulence with a lot more efficiency. But you also have two other kinds of sperm within older males. You have the normal sperm, which would be the Learjet, but you also have decaying sperm, which would be like a helicopter. So you have like the sperm that's not that good, and you have the sperm that's normal, and you have the sperm that's more efficient because it's got a longer, thicker flagella, and a sperm that's got a bigger head, and it's harder on the surface, which hits the egg harder and also with more efficiency, can dig through it a lot quicker, is more likely to reach the egg, and is more likely to get into the egg than the bad sperm and the normal sperm. And that's why I take microbiology at the college. The best egg, of course, is 18 to 24 years old because it too has the most telomerase and hasn't suffered through aneuploid retardation of the follicles of the ova, which occurs at 25 years old. So if you want to create a baby, the best point would be 18 to 24-year-old women with 35 to 55-year-old men. And I'm 41, so this is particularly interesting to me, and I'm trying to make money through YouTube by doing the mitigation videos. That's my job. If somebody has a complaint about somebody else, they pay me $50, and then I talk about what they talk about, kind of like Maury Povich might, but perhaps a little more eloquent, talking about like Jerry Springer might, like this issue here, this issue there, like Steve Wilkos might do or something. Like you talk about like some made-up issue. Yeah, I went to an upholsterer, and that upholsterer slighted me by giving me a shoddy job. Whatever the issue is, I'll talk about it for $50. If they want to rebuke that argument, $50 to me again to rebuke it, and that's my job. it's kind of a part-time job. I average $250 a week, but I'd like to crank that up to $1,000 a week because it's really easy for me to do a 5-minute video for somebody for $50. A lot of people have suggested Cameo because a lot of like washed up and climbing celebrities do it for anywhere from like $75 to $1,000, and that's a great way to earn money, is to have a public voice. So that's what my job is. It would be nice if I was earning $48,000 a year, because if I earned $48,000 a year, I might not even go to college, because that's as much as my younger brother makes as a teacher. He makes about $50,000 a year teaching 3rd grade. And he went to school a long time and had to earn a degree. He has a bachelor's degree, and that took him forever to do because he was working at JCPenney the whole time. So it took him 10 years to earn a bachelor's degree, and then he did student teaching for a while up in Bellingham. And now he works in, I think, Tequila. I don't talk to him because he's so busy. But an average for an elementary school teacher is about $50,000 a year. He could have done UPS work for $100,000 a year driving truck. But he didn't because of what he wants to do. People don't do their jobs because of the money. That's why I talk about anarcho-communism a lot. There's people that earn a lot of money, like a doctor. A really good doctor might earn $300,000 a year. Really good lawyer might earn $5 million a year. But what I'm saying is, like, we should pay everybody the same wage, like $100,000 a year. That means the McDonald's workers would get $100,000 a year, and lawyers would get $100,000 a year. The point is that it would equalize the economy. And right now it's in the red. It's been in the red since the 1970s. The only people that have really made money are the billionaires. And my idea is we just pay everybody the same wage for every job. Because if people want to do their job, they're going to do their job. My younger brother is a fine example because he's a 3rd grade teacher and he can drive truck for twice the amount of money, but he does his job because he likes his job. He's a teacher. There's a lot of people that would be janitors because it's an easy job compared to being a construction worker. There's a lot of people that would be doctors just because it's a hot job and it would attract a lot of gorgeous women to be a doctor. You're there saving lives. But when you really think about it, even a 3rd grade teacher or a construction worker is saving lives. Even a porn star is saving lives. Everybody is saving lives with their job, because without those jobs, the economy would fall to pieces. Every job is integral to the economy, and McDonald's worker is integral to the economy, and they might just automate something like that. What are the McDonald's workers going to do? Well, they'll have to get another kind of job, like maybe a Kinko's or something like that. What if they automate that job? You know what I mean? Like, everybody should be secure in their job and get paid the same rate. There would still be people that would want to be lawyers because they like that job. It's a fun career, you know what I mean? It's enjoyable, it's rewarding, and there's lots of reasons to be a lawyer than making $5 million a year. So what I'm saying is, I don't necessarily have to be a doctor, you know, to have fulfillment. If I'm doing the $50 videos, I'll find fulfillment that way. And if I'm doing $1,000 a week, then I would find a lot of fulfillment because I'd be making almost as much as an elementary school teacher. My brother has a really nice apartment, kind of like Fraser Crane. Not that big, but he's got a nice fireplace. He's happy, you know what I mean? I don't think he lives with his girlfriend, but he might have a new girlfriend by now. Last time he had a girlfriend was for 7 years, and before that it was like 7 years too. So he might live with his girlfriend. He lived with his last girlfriend. He likes his life, you know what I mean? Like, he's a teacher. He likes his life. Construction workers have nice apartments with fireplaces. There's people that work in offices. There are mid-level employees. There's people that work at McDonald's that have little houses, you know. There are people that are secretaries that have little houses. Most people would be very happy with $100,000 a year. A lot of people would be happy with making $100,000 a year as a lawyer, even if they were previously making $5 million a year. If they didn't, they would just quit and they'd do another job, but they'd still get paid $100,000 a year for whatever that job is. So they would do something else for $100,000 a year. Somebody else would do that job for them because they would want to be a lawyer. People will do lawyering because they like being lawyering. It's not because they make $100 million a year. People are CEOs because they like the work sometimes. There's a lot of CEOs that enjoy their job. Steve Bezos and Elon Musk seem like they enjoy their job, and they might actually do that for $100,000 a year. So what I'm saying is, if I make money, I don't need to write my discourse. I could just talk about my conjectural analysis, which would be a hell of a lot more fun than going to school and talking about my conjectural analysis of age gap relationships, which is a fun conversation, but it's still a difficult conversation because of all the microbiology classes are really difficult. So what I'm saying is, if I got a really good job doing what I do, which is mitigating between parties on the internet, I wouldn't need to go to school, and I would still study because I enjoy studying. I study a lot of stuff where it comes to like silverback gorillas and seeding fruits and why they drop things, and thinking a lot about this stuff anyway because it's an interesting thing. Somebody else could take up my body work and run with it and say, I want to work on writing a dissertation. That happened with Michael Faraday. He came up with ideas for gravity waves and magnetic waves that Laplace came along and he said, look, man, you're right. We got to write some mathematical equations. So Laplace wrote the equations and Michael Faraday conducted the experiments and theorized about things, even though Michael Faraday was really no different than, well, you could say a Tesla without a degree, but he was like Mr. Wizard, which was an old show on Nickelodeon. He performed these science experiments for kids, kind of like Edison did. He just did that to entertain the community. That was his job. He just was he was an entertainer. That it was a science educator without a degree. And in the 1800s, that was a really common thing to be. Was kind of like a building entertainer, kind of like a circus freak thing, where he would just like show people what electricity did, what osmosis did, and just like different scientific concepts, like Bill Nye does. Bill Nye was actually, I think, a high school teacher, but then Bill Nye became kind of like Michael Faraday and was just conducting experiments and writing things down about things that he observed. Later on, mathematics came along and filled in what Faraday did, and I would much rather do something like that, where I'm just having a discursive about the things that I think about, and then somebody else might write the dissertation. My job, though, my career move is to do mitigation between parties over the internet. I did one for a young guy that had a beef with somebody about stealing his girlfriend over the PlayStation Network. Then he got banned from the PSN, which pissed him off because all his games were gone. He couldn't play all his games that he had on the DLC. But the other guy had just as visceral attacks on him, but he didn't get dinged for this. So he came to me with $50. And then he did another one where he was talking about this chick and how that was the girl that he was trying to win over. It was really a funny case, but for him it was really serious. And I love doing stuff like that. I love stories. I like listening to people's stories. I don't need to reveal people's stories. I don't judge, I say a lot, and I just ask questions. I like to interview people. It's a great way to get to know somebody, is you just ask them questions, or you just kind of listen to their story. It's a great example of why I'd be a good boyfriend, is because I'm really good at like listening and asking questions. I love story. I love having a laugh. That's more entertaining for me than anyone. If you like board games, I got cartographers in my bag that I just carry around with me everywhere. It's 1 to 100 players. It's a write game where you write things down based on cards. It seems really fun. I'm going to look at it today and try the one-player version and see how that works out, like solitaire. She said it was really fun. There were 3 games. I might get the other one. I can't remember what it's called. And then there was another one too, like these little one-player games that Uncle's Games had. So I keep myself entertained. I spend a lot of time alone because I just don't know a lot of people. You know what I mean? I hung out with Isaac a lot, but all he really did was just like talk my ear off. And then he got into meth and got really bad and started just being really mean. And then he realized he had a problem and went to Kootenai Mental Health, I guess in May. I sent a few videos that he went in March, but I think he's been gone about 4 months now. Because that's about the time that I quit using my phone, because it got stolen at a party where there was a bunch of tweakers around and I was full of weed. and I lost my phone, and that just screwed up everything for me because somebody jacked it. So I decided, well, I'm kind of bored of being on the phone all the time anyway, because I'm not doing classes right now. Classes were bad. And right now I'm going to try and look into see how open the campus is, because I'd really like to take classes to fill in some health credits for weight training and get a little more of the weight off. And they have a good gym that I would like to hit up and get a few credits on, because I need to do some exercise. If it doesn't, I might do the YMCA and do that instead for $25 a month, because it would be a lot cheaper. I would earn money doing it, but I would have to come into the school, which is a longer distance as well. So I'm just looking at what they have to offer in terms of amenities. So I'm doing a lot of work, try to figure out, should I do classes, should I do it that way, or should I do the YMCA and just do it on my own and work on the case mitigation. I'm not a lawyer or anything. I'm just a guy that airs out people's cases when they pay me money. But my main body work, the thing that I'm most concerned about, is three things: learning how to become a board game designer and learning concepts of mechanics within board games to design board games. I'm also interested in trying to find a girlfriend, and I'm also interested in age gap relationship science, especially because of the high telomerase content in eggs and sperm. And I've started to think about what are those studies about well-being within the age gap relationship. And my theory is, or my conjectural analysis really, would be that it cranks up the wattage of the van der Waals force, also known as the London dispersion force, within antibodies to detect pathogens. And that lends the feeling of well-being, because it's a blanket versus an electric, a more electrified scene to go along with a more electrified ova and the ejaculates based on that. And that's why I studied biology, because I want to study sexology. And the reason for that is it would give kids more tactile strands of DNA. I would conjecture again that DNA would be 300 to 400% more tactile based on the amount of telomerase, the glue that holds DNA together. So a lot of people have said, man, you're really into that, then you should write a dissertation. So that's why I came to school, and I did well in my English classes to get my writing credits. So that's why I did that, and I was doing pretty good in the biology too. So I'm kind of averaging around B level work. I could be doing a lot better, but I was getting A's, and I got a 4.0 in a couple of classes, like 3 classes I got a 4.0. So I'm trying to buckle down more and think about what I really want to do. I mean, if I earn more money, I don't need to do the busy work at the school. So I'm also interested in board game design, trying to find a girlfriend, the high telomerase content of age gap relationships, and why those link to feelings of well-being, and why I think the age gap relationship is a more clandestine relationship in terms of more tactile baby DNA and a stronger, more mature bud. So I look at that sort of thing like the therapist boyfriend, and why when you're older you're more willing to listen to young women, and why younger women are more interested in terms of, there's someone who have a lot to say. I'm interested in politics. I'm a Democrat, so I'm interested in AOC's climb, interested in Bernie Sanders. I think I'm a real interesting cat. I enjoy board games just in general. I'm always interested in finding people to play new games. I don't want to sit around and play D&D or Magic the Gathering. I want to play new shit. And I'm also interested in looking around at different restaurants, and I go around to different restaurants in Spokane to check them out. And occasionally I go and see a movie. I just don't really concern myself with movies because I'm one of these nerds that looks into studies as a form of entertainment. So I look at a lot of articles on Will Academy and New Internal Medicine, just because I find the whole science of things interesting. I study silverback gorillas. I study silverback dogs. I look at time periods where people lived longer. I look at areas of the world like Costa Rica where people live.
and why that is, and stuff like that. I just look into stuff like that. I look at how plants reproduce. I look at reproduction. I look at the spring-autumn relationship on the scientific level, also known as the body-body relationship. I enjoy microbiology, learning about how energy transfers work within the Krebs cycle and the carbon cycle with the plants. I look at stuff like that. I look at energy transference and energy abundance and energy overabundance and energy underabundance and things like that. This high impact science, just like Michael Faraday did. I'm looking at various things, and it would be nice if I could earn money doing something else other than that, because school is difficult. I'm not saying that it isn't fun or rewarding. It's just more difficult than the other work that I do, doing case mitigation between people, kind of like Steve Wilkos on television. So that's me in a nutshell. And I feel like opposites attract. But being that I'm an ambivert, I could attract somebody that's a stoic or someone that's bubbly. You know what I mean? I have different types that I'd be interested in. Non-white chicks, white chicks. I'm not really. I can't see racism, and I don't see the point. You know what I mean? I don't see why we cut out white girls and non-white. But non-white, with my white ass, would create a stronger trend of baby. So I look at stuff like that. I look at things like comedy things. I study things like young person language versus older person language. I look at generational trends, and if that relates to killing their attrition or killing their elongation in certain cases, like intelligence based on interracial or intergenerational patterns or interreligious patterns. But I look at stuff like that because I find that whole thing of diverse genetics interesting. It's not eugenics that I'm advocating. It's like plants, selective breeding. So what I'm saying is I'm a fully faceted individual, and I'd be a really cool playboy, especially if you like eating good food like sushi. Even Chinese food is good food. You know what I mean? I like going to Taco for a while. I like going to Continental. Continental is a great place. There's a huge age gap scene in Spokane at Bistingo, the Boulder Acting Timber Sellers, that whole Post Street scene, as you post up a lot, lower Post Street, Punchinito, the whole Generation X male, Generation Z female scene. So look into that. It's beginning to be on the whole Silver Fox scene. And I would like to hear more stories about that and how that works. Because I think that's neat, and I study that on a scientific level. Because I'm one of those types of nerds. I just like deep shit. It's fun for me. I do board games. I'm not a video game. I'm a board game. And I don't think that my having a low economic standing should disqualify me from being employed right. I can afford restaurant food every once in a while, but I don't have a lot of money because I'm not FAFSA or poor. I have low income. There's a 10% chance of that passing on to children. And then you look at things like Marfan syndrome, Asperger's syndrome, and schizophrenia that is passed on by older men. But that only happens if the dude has Marfan syndrome, which I obviously don't have because I'm built like a Teton knight. I'm built like a logger. I'm not built like a little skinny guy. Like I said that was when you were small. You might have Marfan syndrome too. I don't have schizophrenia. I've had analysis out of my whole. And there's a 10% chance of that passing on. I don't have Asperger's syndrome. I've been tested for that. I've been tested for autism. I've been tested for all these things. You can only pass those things on if you actually have this. And it doesn't really matter to me anyway, because people with Asperger's syndrome are kind of neat. Greta Thunberg had Asperger's syndrome. I met a chick that had autism at the Foothills Stabilization, or Foothills, not Stabilization, but Foothills that had autism that I thought was charming as fuck, and she was 20 years old, and she was charming. She was a little black chick that went through some stuff, and she was a very nice person that I wouldn't mind dating. You know what I mean? But she had a boyfriend, so we were just friends for a while. I always seem to be able to strike up conversations with Generation Z women really easily. I think that's just because naturally with the propensity for the uncle age or the bad age to attract, that's what you mean, to be the daddy-daughter relationship on a microbiological level. But anyway, hit me up if you want a video. I have a comment coming up, so you're going to have to email me. If you email me at lucaswerner79@gmail.com, information, you could send me the $50 and I'll do the video for you. I'll even do advertising. Whatever video work you want me to do, I'll do. And if I owe you a project, let me know. You can also hit me up at lucascolpwender@gmail.com. So I have 2 email addresses. Either one of them you can hit me up on. I might go with another email address later on, but it doesn't really matter to me. If you spam me, it just be, the stuff that I see anyway. I just don't have the comments on because I don't like reading through the garbage crap. And the people that complain on the comment section on YouTube are no cool. There's no reason to do that. Just let it go. I'm not going to read those comments anyway and see your analytics. I occasionally do, and it's just annoy me, so I have to comment. I don't know how to do it. Just keep crap and keep it yourself. I'll listen to your crap if you want to pay me some mitigation. I gotta take your pay. So that's what I do. My goal is to make $48,000 within the next year and to get off this bill that I do. It'd be better than doing school. School is difficult, and I love school. Microbiology is fun.
Here's what I find befuddling, is why the telomere length of the chromosomes grow within sperm between 35 and 55 years old. Anyway, why does that occur? Why does sperm become more energetic? Why do the flagella increase? Why do the heads get harder and bigger? Why are these more penetrative sperm? Why does this give kids stronger, healthier, more tactile strands of DNA, making them healthier on all levels of the body, increasing the leukocyte length of the white blood cells as the body forms, making all systems of the body more efficient? Why does that occur? Well, my idea that I just came up with is that perhaps the dropping rates of testosterone, once you hit about 40, have hit a level to be 99% nominative levels, which would offset the balance of progesterone, which would increase the empathic region of the brain, the right supramarginal gyrus, which would concur nicely with why older fathers are more attentive towards their children, which may somehow trigger the pituitary gland, the sex drive gland, to grow the telomeres of the sperm at the exact same interval. So there should be some sort of 15-year study from 30 years old to at least 45 years old, because that's the high fecund point. There's also feelings of well-being within relationships. So as you're a woman and you ask, as Generation Z, what does a Generation X male do for me? Well, feelings of being happier and chiller, perhaps because the right supramarginal gyrus increases in activity, which may increase the pituitary gland to make the telomeres stronger, which makes the second chakra, which is known as the instinct and creative center of the body, just below the solar plexus in the reproductive system, to elevate an increased activity of the van der Waals force. And London's dispersion is another name for it, that detects pathogens from further away, detecting diseases sooner and destroying them sooner than more nominative levels as a younger man within at least the semen, which would be at the same level as female ejaculate, which is actually plural because women produce 4 different kinds of ejaculate compared to men, which is only 1 production of ejaculate. This too may also increase the metabolic rate, at least within semen, by increased activity within the pituitary gland. But the metabolic rate would also increase in centers like the heart through the increased activity within the right supramarginal gyrus, making fathers at this age more attentive. So we have fathers at the middle age being more attentive. We have stronger, more tactile strands of DNA at this level. We have studies on well-being from the age gap relationship of Generation Z levels and Generation X levels within the progesterone and testosterone levels. So what I'm saying here is there's no logical reason, at least in terms of science, of dating a man under the age of 35, potentially even the age of 40 or 45, because that's the fecund point of semen, which on the osmotic level would mean that the sex is more pleasurable between these two age groups, and there's studies on that too. Also well-being, because we're more therapists as boyfriends and husbands, and we're more therapists towards our children at this level, probably because of lowering rates of testosterone, which would make more progesterone in the body according to equilibrium. And women often talk about chemical equilibrium, and that chemical equilibrium may in fact be lower testosterone, and their progesterone does indeed, through studies, increase the rate of the production of testosterone. So they even us out, and we could also even them out on certain levels as well in terms of energy, increase in van der Waals force of antibodies, and metabolic rates within semen. A lot of that is just conjecture, though. I'm just spitballing here. Okay, so here's the idea. Since there's all those studies on age gap relationships, especially the generation gap relationship, producing feelings of well-being within the participants of a 20-year age gap or more, Bram Stoker had a 33 age gap with his wife. So this is not too uncommon. It's one form of love. So that feeling of well-being might actually be osmotic. You have to understand that semen between the ages of 35 and 55 years old contains more of the enzyme telomerase, which gives babies stronger DNA, and it holds the DNA together better, making the DNA more tactile. So when you come inside a woman, when you ejaculate, the cell or the uterine walls absorb most of that semen. As it washes over the egg or the absence of the egg, the uterus is going to absorb that ejaculate. And because of that, that ejaculate is going to enter the bloodstream. And of course, that's going to enter the kidneys, and it's going to metabolize within the kidneys. So the higher telomerase sperm would indeed increase the metabolism of the kidneys metabolizing the molecules that it metabolizes and the chemicals that it metabolizes, speeding up the process of metabolism, giving you those feelings of well-being, which would indeed increase the wattage of the van der Waals force within antibodies, and also perhaps the pituitary gland. So it would elevate her pituitary gland and also her empathic regions, and probably all regions of the body, as semen from an aged male enters the body and gets metabolized by the kidneys. Why does the telomerase increase in the first place within aged males? Probably due to the fact that testosterone drops by 1% every year from the age of 40, which would increase the progesterone equilibrium, causing the right supramarginal gyrus of the brain to produce more empathy, which would indeed increase the pituitary gland production, making it a more sexual experience. Or it could be the opposite. This is just theory, of course. The pituitary gland would be increased at the same time, or the pituitary gland increases the empathy. Something about the pituitary gland and the right supramarginal gyrus, which controls sex and empathy, would interrelate somehow to grow the telomeres within aged male sperm due to dropping testosterone rates. At least in theory, at least to what I'm thinking here, in terms of why does that occur? Dropping testosterone, perhaps. And those feelings of well-being would be directly as a result of sperm being absorbed by the uterine walls of a woman, which would enter the bloodstream and be metabolized by the kidneys, increasing through higher telomerase and greater telomere length within the chromosomes of those sperm that are better sperm in all ways, making you more energetic and happy and well-being wise. Why would well-being increase within males? Well, probably more progesterone, especially in women between 18 and 24. So dropping testosterone and higher telomerase would increase energy output of antibodies and within the kidneys, which would be due to dropping testosterone rates, elevating probably the sex drive known as the creative center, the sacral chakra. So what I'm saying is there's no logical reason to date men under the age of at least 35 and probably under the age of 40 because of that 1% drop in testosterone, which has reached that point. It does, it kind of like goes at a rate. It would be interesting to know when testosterone exactly started dropping. Probably around 35 is when testosterone starts to drop, but it does drop 1% a year from the time that you're 40, if I'm not mistaken. But that would increase the energy output of the pituitary gland, perhaps through increasing the energy output of the right supramarginal gyrus. If there's some sort of connection between the empathy region and the sex drive region, it's kind of an obvious connection if you think about it. If you study case studies as I do, just studies on the internet, you have access to a lot of studies at the college, and you can get some for free just over the regular net. Men between 40 and 60 are at their peak sexually when it comes to being amazing in bed. And I'm 41 years old and haven't had sex in 9 years. But I'm fast approaching my peak, which I guess would be 45. Women are best at sex between 18 and 24 because they have a lot of energy. Men are best at sex between 40 and 60 because they have dropping rates of testosterone, which elevates their progesterone to a larger level in terms of equilibrium with testosterone, making them more empathic in bed. So there might be something to the fact of the empathy region, the right supramarginal gyrus, and the pituitary gland, the sex drive interrelating somehow in 40 to 60-year-old men due to that dropping rate of testosterone, which makes them more caring and compassionate in sexual activities. Women are better at sex when they're 18 and 24 just because they have more energy, period. They have more muscle mass. And they're more empathic anyway because they're, women case by case have more empathy than men do, which makes them better at men. When you look at things like professions that women choose, like nursing and masseuse, they're just plain better at it, and that's why they're more geared towards nursing and being masseuses. Things where empathy is a job requirement, dental hygienists like my niece, stuff like that, attract more women because they're more empathic. Women are much more caring than men. They have we all know this because of studies and studies and studies and studies. They care more, which means they have a more elevated energy output of the right supramarginal gyrus. And men start to care more because they have less testosterone as they age. And I'm at that level now. Plus I have these cool little things like sideburning patches on my beard that look pretty cool. And if you hit me up, I'd buy you a pizza just to have a conversation with you and listen to your side of the story on anything. I really would. I would love to hear what you say about anything. If you're a Gen Z woman, hit me up. If you need me to make a little more money, I'm trying to make more money by going to, the studies that 40 to 60-year-old men are better at sex. Could make more money somehow, but also I'm better at argument, mitigating cases between people like Stephen Wilkos, and I'm kind of a Michael Faraday character. I also design board games, so I'm trying to make money that way. I make a lot of money doing the thing where it's $50 a video to hear out your side of a case. Like you tell me some bullshit going on in your life, I tell you the audience that story, put it on YouTube, and then if your enemy has a rebuke, I'll take their $50 and I'll work for you. And also liberals and left-wingers are more empathic too. We also tend to be stronger in terms of things. There's that whole thing that we're more violent, but we're also crybabies. Well, that's kind of true of Democrats versus Republicans, right? I mean, we're more empathic. We're also more willing to shake a fist at things than Republicans. So being that I am a left-winger also makes me better
as a term of a relationship. And the pizza at Twigs is amazing. I would buy us each one. It'd be like $34. It's nothing. Then you can take some home with you. Hit me up IRL. You have my email address too, but I won't trust you unless you're paying me money over Cash App for that whole mitigation thing that I do. But if you want to go on a date with me, I won't believe you unless you send me a video. Catfishing. I don't trust any of it. I've been to Los Angeles not by my own will. That was not fun because of you. So, I mean, I mostly hang out downtown. And I know you're not in classes because you're largely Democratic Socialists. And that's why I say it's okay for dudes to say the word nigga if they're not black. Well, I mean, you're walking around saying retard. If you walk around saying retard, I'm going to walk around saying, hey, nigga. You know what I mean? And I'm more likely to date a non-white chick than a white chick. You know, it is what it is. But I'm not a racist. I will date white girls. Man, I totally fucked up that game of cartographers too. Like I completely played it the opposite. The solo round, you're not even supposed to put a title there. I put Papa Telomerase there for my title, and you're not even supposed to put a title there in the solo round. I had no idea how to score it, but I'm going to keep playing it to figure this out. I earned 7 reputation stars and had a score of -1. So I don't know how that plays in. Does that mean I got 6 points? I don't fucking know. It's the first time I played it. I'm going to have to play it according to the rules on the back with the solo round. I fucked up. While I was playing that, I realized the City Gate was feeding, so I was going to go there and eat some food. They serve at 12:30, so that's some free food. I'm going to go check that out because I lost my EBT card at that party where Isaac brought those meth addicts and ruined the whole chill of the scene, and there's nothing I could do because they wouldn't leave. We smoked a lot of pot, though, so that was cool. And I started thinking about in the library as I was charging my phone what my style is. Well, I don't really know. Like I'm wearing cargo pants right now that I got from Goodwill. I'll probably get rid of them. I'm probably the opposite of a dude bro. Because dude bros are really offended by things. If you call a dude bro a faggot, he'll want to fight you. If you call me a faggot, I'll just be like, yeah, that's you. You know what I mean? Like I was wearing a shirt that said, kiss whoever the fuck you want. With a gay pride flag on it for Gay Pride Month, which was June. I wore that. I wore like smoke pot, eat twat, and Smile a Lot shirt. I wore a shirt that was Do the Right Thing or something like that from Martin Luther King. When I get rid of the shirts, it's usually after a week of wearing them, and then I just go buy another shirt because I'm kind of a homeless right now. You know what I mean? So there's no kinda about it. I have money saved up, but I'm trying to get that house at the Oxford. Um, they got a bunch of houses. There's potentially one thing that they could bring up, but I emailed them trying to figure out why they haven't emailed me yet, because they would have emailed me saying that I was accepted or denied, and the interview went really well. But anyway, I'm just people want to know like what kind of chick I would be attracted to. Well, preppy chicks, like the chicks that dude bros often get. Nice legs, between 18 and 24, and fit. See, it's about the van der Waals force. When sperm is absorbed into the uterus, when it's aged sperm, it has high telomerase, which goes into the bloodstream and is processed by the kidneys, which gives you that feeling of well-being by cranking up your metabolism by the aged sperm of having more telomerase in the semen. That also occurs on your dick from female ejaculate from younger women. So 18 and 24 with 34 to 55 makes complete sense. So I know I'm not a dude bro, because if somebody called me a name like, I'm not a jock or a prep really, I'm a dark waver. That's basically what it is. Those are youth coaches anyway. I'm 41 years old. I'm kind of an alternative kid, you know what I mean? A rich boy alternative kid that hung out with the poor kids because they were more interesting. I don't spend a lot of time listening to rap music, but I don't mind rap music, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind people that listen to country music. As long as you're nice, physically fit, between 18 and 24 years old, I'm not really too judgmental. I don't care what kind of music you listen to. As long as you're nice to me and you're a nice person, and you look good and you're healthy, because healthy will give the baby stronger DNA from the high telomerase in the middle-aged sperm, and also the high telomerase in the young female eggs of 18 to 24 being the nominal range of telomerase, and fecund ova and fecund sperm being those two things that crank up the van der Waals forces of fighting pathogens through antibodies, would also be a way to convey well-being by increasing the health and happiness, which would be the serotonin and the immune system. So what I'm saying is Generation Z women and Generation X men together, there are plenty of studies on the well-being factor, and what I'm doing is trying to think about how the right supramarginal gyrus also interrelates to the pituitary gland and the sex drive, because that's a creative instinct urge within the second chakra, known as the whatever chakra it is. I can't remember. It's in one of the other videos. So by being in that 20-year age gap, you're going to get a stronger feeling of well-being and a stronger feeling of happiness within the Generation Z woman and a Generation X male, through the absorption of semen within your uterus of high telomerase being impacted by the kidneys, which metabolizes genetic information through molecules. So beginning a relationship between Generation Z and Generation X would be the same as, godlike status, or whatever you want to call it, king-like status, royal status. And as soon as you mention things like that you're a feminist, or the fact that you know stuff about gynecology, younger women especially seem to be turned on by that. I've seen them smile, and all that you really need to do is avoid the whole hand gesture thing and doing the douchebag asshole move, and just go up and compliment her by saying, "Hi, I think you're pretty," or "Hi, I just thought you were beautiful." And that starts a conversation to where you go buy her ice cream or something, and you go get ice cream. It's really more simple than you think. I'm just an opportunist. I'm waiting for the proper opportunity to meet the healthiest, fittest women, which would be women that don't look like they're busy right at the moment, like they're in a rush. They're either standing there or sitting there, which would be someone probably in the suburbs, or someone at a bar, or someone at a restaurant. I'm going to a clean and sober house, so I can't drink, but I could go to a bar and buy a drink for myself, which is non-alcoholic, like a pop, and then go buy somebody else drinks without drinking it. Because I'm at that clean and sober living house, I can't technically drink while I'm there. But while I'm there, I'm going to work on snap housing, so I'll have independence. You see how I think? Logic. You know, just so I'm just thinking about my style. I wear a Halloween shirt. I got this shirt from Skeletor, who had me do a podcast with him. He's another Spokane vlogger. Skeletor and 24, they got the Outcast Owls. You might want to check them out. I have a couple interviews with them. I did a 2.5 hour interview that they posted on another site called The Burger Boy. Or they didn't post it, but somebody took it from them and posted it. Kiwi Farms manipulated it, and it's all fucked up because Kiwi Farms are fucking stupid and they do things wrong. They put ominous music, but it's 2.5 hour long interview. I'm just sitting there smoking weed with them that one time, but before that it had been like 3 months and I haven't smoked weed in quite some time. I would definitely pass UA, and I was just drinking beer with them. That was before I even knew about the Oxford House. So what I'm saying is I'll pass a UA really easily because I don't smoke pot, knowing that I'll be in the Oxford House. And the last time I smoked pot was like 3 months ago, except for that one time. And I'm just kind of thinking about what kind of women I like and what kind of women would like me. Well, any kind of woman could like me. I like nice legs. I like pretty smiles. I like any kind of hair. I like physically fit, healthy women that are between 18 and 24. And I know places to meet them. I know approaches that I would make in those instances of buying them drinks or ice cream or whatever. It just has to be someone where I don't have to buy two people. I don't want to be one of those guys that takes two women, you know what I mean? Or be in those situations where it's two. Easy situation would be a bar. Like Bistangos tends to gravitate towards an age gap audience within the Generation X, Generation Z pattern. So does Conchinito, which is a great street taco place on the same block. And also the Volder Act and Tempest Cellars, because they're more sophisticated upscale bars with drinks that are just about the same price as any other bar or tavern in town. So the Vanderwalls force of us being in that age gap relationship between Generation Z would increase the wattage of the immune system through high telomerase sperm and high telomerase female ejaculate upon the cock and also within the uterus. Poo-yakasha, wow, wow. I'm good. I'm real good. So if anybody asks you as a Generation Z woman why you're into Generation X men, all you really need to say is that Lucas thinks that the high telomerase sperm, which gives kids stronger DNA, gets absorbed by the uterine walls, which gets absorbed by the bloodstream, cranking up the wattage, the joules per second force of the antibodies within the blood, which also gets eliminated by the kidneys, speeding up the metabolism. And if they wonder why that occurs, Lucas again thinks that the drop in testosterone in middle-aged men between 35 and 55 by 1% each year by the time they're 40 might actually crank up the right supramarginal gyrus, elevating more empathy, which triggers the second chakra through the pituitary gland of a higher sex drive in the period of time in a male, which might explain the feelings of well-being, health, and happiness from an age gap relationship study by study, and also why men between 40 and 60 are better at sex. Booyakasha Wagwan. That's what Wern thinks. Back in the spring, there was a guy who was about Isaac's age, maybe about 21, who found me on the street as we were waiting to get some weed because we didn't have our IDs. And Isaac and I were getting some marijuana down at the First Avenue Lucky Leaf, but this guy came up and he took a picture with me. And he said he was a fan. Listen, if you want to get a hold of me in public because you're a fan, that's great. If you're an enemy, I'll just contact the police or get a hold of the Plaza police. You know better than that. But if you're a big fan and want to talk to me, give me your phone number so we can hang out sometime and hook up with some women. I want to show you my game with women your age. It's pretty spot on. I know what I'm doing. It's not like I'm a non-player. Like if they're around 18 to 21, that's the purpose of me even having a YouTube channel to kind of entertain them. So let's make that happen, Captain.
I just want to give an example of how people survive when they're homeless. Often there's city outreach places. I'm at Citygate right now that serves a meal every noon. And I often don't eat here. I usually just go to Shalom on Mondays and Tuesdays and skip a few days. And then on Friday and then the weekends go to the Mosaic Center. So I don't usually eat on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But I can. See, I lost my food card 3 months ago, but I need a permanent mailing address to get it. And none of the homeless shelters will allow you to get mail. So I've just been surviving this way for about 3 months. I got this veggie hummus, crudites hummus. That was pretty good. Citygate's awesome. It's Pastor John. They're a religious organization, but they always got good food. You know, they got like a sloppy Joe. It looks more like a pulled pork. No, it looks like sloppy Joe. Looks like some sun chips. These are delicious. What I got? Chocolate milk today. Nice piece of cake. You can survive pretty well as a homeless person, but I am trying to get a place to stay at the Oxford House. I can live there as long as I want in just a room. I can't drink or smoke pot, but I don't really have a problem with that. And I emailed them today. We'll see how they're doing. Skeletor in 24 bought me these Nikes a little while back. And that shirt I've been wearing to do their podcast, the Outcast Owls. Kiwi Farms took it and manipulated it and made it look like shit on the Burger Boy on YouTube. But, you know, that's just the breaks, I guess. Kiwi Farms fucks up everything they do. That's why nobody likes them. But, hey, whatever. I got an iced coffee. I am starting to elevate a little bit. I would like to elevate a little bit more. If you want me to air out a grievance, just shoot me off an email, lucascolbywerner@gmail.com or lucaswerner79@gmail.com. And I'll give you my Cash App. And you can send me $50 and I'll air out your grievances. And if the other party wants to air out their grievances, I'll take their money. So I'll kind of mitigate between parties to see how to resolve an issue. And that's what I've been doing before the second lockdown. I made $250 doing this. I'll also do ads, love letters, any kind of like video work you want me to do, where you like my voice and image reading something or a script or something. Donald's Fat Dump. If you're watching this, I'm sorry I was on hiatus for 3 months. My phone was broken and I needed money to survive, but I'll do your thing. If you want, I'll do an extra one for you for free since you already paid. But I remember the script. If you want to email that to me, I'll do that. And you already paid me, so it's all good. And I spent that money, so I have to do a new Cash App. I'll send you the address for the new Cash App, and I'll give you an extra one for free since I waited so long to do that one. Donald's Fat Dump. She's a friend on Instagram. I'm just sitting here eating this veggie tray that I got from Citygate. That's hummus, hummus and carrots and whatnot. Pretty good stuff that you get for free in the homeless community. I usually do a dinner at the Mosaic Center on Fridays, and that's a good dinner. You can get seconds and thirds. We had great hot dogs, like gourmet hot dogs that like pop. My parents are millionaires. My mom and my stepdad made a lot of money in the travel agency game for 7 years, from 1993 to 2000, and they're still living real comfortably after being retired for 21 years. My dad inherited a lot of money from cows, like 50 cows and 300 acres that my grandparents owned, and my stepmom inherited a lot of money from Ocean Spray through her dad, and they own 12 acres. So in 20 years, I'm going to inherit a lot of money. If you ever want to meet me, and you're a woman between 18 and 24 and physically fit, I think an ideal date situation would be to go eat pizza at Twig's. I'll buy you your own pizza. We just sit there and get to know each other better. Because I don't know anybody in Spokane, really. Whenever I try to approach the women, they're always surrounded by the guys at the smoking pit. So, fuck that. I don't like that shit. That's bogus shit.
Generation X and Generation Z belong together. So I only hit up Generation Z women. If I knew exactly where to go to get them, I would. But I do. I have to get my ID to go to Bistango. There is that whole generation gap crowd between Generation X and Generation Z, but I got to get a new identification card in order to do that. I'm going to be living in the suburbs, and there's a lot of women that age around there, and I'll probably try to strike up some friendships in the neighborhood, and like get my ID card and get my EBT card. I can probably go to bars and try it. I just can't drink while I'm at the Oxford House time I get this place, but I'm going to try it other places as well within the Oxford community. I think I did pretty well in the interview. But what I'm saying is, if you're a guy and you want to meet me and you're a Generation Z dude or no Generation Z women, let's hang out. You know, I'll show you my game with them, how I can pick them up, and how cool I am with women. Because I've been in mental hospitals where I've hung out with hotties and befriended them while I was there. That's real easy for me. You just provide the date, time, location, and we'll hang out at a house party. I know you're not in classes. We're socialists, you know what I mean? Most of us are democratic socialists, so it can't be about money. It can't be about greed. It can't be about age phobia because you're a fan. It can't be about ableism. I'm now taking bipolar medication, Abilify, which is coming me out. I like chill women, you know what I mean? Chill, beautiful, physically fit women 18 to 24. That's really my skill set. Preppy chicks, women with nice legs. It doesn't really matter. They could be alternative. There's really only two types, right? Preppy chicks and alternative chicks. Even like the rap crowd are just kind of a mix of both. So this is not really a big deal. I like nice legs, nice pretty face, nice body, healthy, not doing bad drugs, you know what I mean? Soft core drugs is okay, but hard drugs is a no. That's not my type. Not real hyphy chicks or aggro chicks. Just chill chicks, you know what I mean? Chill girls. And only in that age range because of what I talk about with the age gap relationships and telomerase. So if you hit me up, you can change my life. And I'll try to change yours. I'm trying to make some money. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod, tip of the cap, blah, 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 blah. Give me $50 and I'll mitigate a case for you. About any kind of beef you're having over the internet, or I'll read anything you want me to read, and I can do an advertisement for you. $50, $50, $50 an advertisement. $50, $50. I want to earn like $1,000 a week and about $48,000 a year doing this. I think I can if I just pull up on the bootstraps a little bit. But it's really coming down to needing some clients. I got a blanket that I bought for $24 so that I keep in this big pack. I've been sleeping outside because it's so warm out that I've just been waiting for the Oxford House to open up. And I eat at the free places around during the week. Saturday and Sunday there's nothing to eat, but I can go 2 days without eating and feel alright. I lose weight doing it. It's alright. It doesn't really bother me. There's a church service on Sunday, so I eat on Sunday then too. Saturday, I think there might be something too. I don't know. I'm not going starving, but there's like a whole bunch of sluttiness. I mean, seriously, like the dude bros will walk past the chicks and be like, and then I remembered I needed to get laid tonight. And then they'll swoop like 3 chicks and walk over the parquet to the car. So these are some slutty chicks that are like 21, and I have the phone again now. So I might, I know the bar is the Ryler. I can't go in because I don't have an ID, but I might actually try my luck and just go up to one of them as they're outside, and that's like every night they're kind of kicking out there. It's Wednesday, so it might be an okay bar night, and I'll just go up. It's the summertime, so I might just go up to one and say, hey, I thought you were pretty and I wanted to introduce myself because they are pretty chicks. And it might give that a shot. That's a lot better than what the Gen Z dudes are calling them. They call them bitches. Like they're a lot more sexist these days in the language, but the women appreciate gentlemen a lot more. I'm serious. Like you're a little more polite. It's one of those player tips. Just be a little more polite than the crowd is at that night. They might be like, yeah, I need a clit. And you come in like, hey, I just thought you were pretty. That make them smile, you know what I mean? It makes them smile. I've had luck just walking past before and saying, hi, how are you? So I might actually try it on the bar scene. And I got a lot more confidence now that I got the phone, so I might just give that a shot. Either there or outside the Volder Act, because they like to hang outside the Volder Act a lot. Vistango seems like the greatest bar to go to for the age gap thing, because the guys have full heads of hair that are gray, and the women are like 21 to 24 years old, and they're all like hanging out and meeting each other. There's some places in Spokane if you're an age gapper, especially if you're a big time generation age gapper. There's the whole Gen Z, Gen X scene here. Like if you're in Spokane, you'd be a fool to pass it up if you're a gapper.
You're scaring the hell out of me, man. Everything that I do good, I try to do good, and